Welcome back to GA Fan TV. It was Laois to a Dublin 4:30. 4:30. Yeah, definitely not the pleasant viewing if you are a Laois native on this lovely Sunday afternoon. But there we go. I think it actually might have been 2-9. We'll update that score in just a moment. But yeah, there we go. Dublin start their championship campaign with a win, with a comprehensive, commanding, and comfortable result in the end. And yeah, it looks like a hurling scoreline. It genuinely looks like a hurling scoreline. In fact, if that was a hurling scoreline, you'd be saying, Jesus, they actually scored quite a lot there, in fairness. So yeah, just an absolute whitewash. Dublin were leading by 22 points after half an hour. So yeah, like I don't really know what you do with these championship games. I think I've said it before. I said it yesterday when I was reviewing the Kerry Tipperary game. I don't know what you do about these games. Do you follow something similar to what the ladies football championship are doing in their provincial championships, where it's just Division 1 and 2 teams that contest the provincial championships? I think maybe that's the way we have to go in Leinster and in the provincial championships this year. In my opinion, I know like Ulster's far more competitive. You could argue you just leave that as it is, leave Connacht as it is, and then. But Munster and Leinster, like the fact that it's just we shouldn't be having these games. We shouldn't be having these games. And I think the most entertaining thing about this match for anyone who watched in GA Go was actually the fact that the commentary, they forgot they were live at half time, and they were cursing away to each other and chatting away, and it was it was funny enough listening to that. But yeah, I don't know what you do about these games. To be honest with you. Will Dublin have learned anything from this game? No. Will Laois? This wasn't good for Laois either. And for fan supporters watching there, what do you do? And even for Dublin fans as well. Like it felt like from watching it just felt like a very mute game. And to be fair, it was on the same time as Galway Roscommon. I was mostly watching that game, to be honest with you. Just had an eye on this one. But yeah, it was really, really poor. I think from as a spectacle, really, really poor stuff. And look, from a Dublin point of view, like they started strong, 4 goals in the early part of the first half. Con O'Callaghan and Colin Basquel getting the first 2 goals, literally one after the other. And then the third goal was from Lee Gannon, and Kieran Kilkenny then rounded it off with a lovely 4th goal with his left boot. And just looking at it from a Dublin perspective, it was open season for the Dublin forwards. I mean, Conor O'Callaghan scored 1-7, Kieran Kilkenny 1-4, Colin Basquel 1-4. I think that was a positive to see Colin Basquel score a goal on 4 points. He's been one of those players that it just hasn't really happened for him yet in a Dublin shirt. He's been very good for Ballyboden at club level in the last couple of seasons. Even when he's come on, he's looked lively and he's looked like a good player to have coming on as a substitute. But it just hasn't clicked for him. He just hasn't been able to get the end product. But to see him score a goal on 4 points today was quite nice to see. Paul Mannion, who started, he scored 3 points. Brian Fenton got 3 points. Lee Gannon obviously got a goal. Keane Murphy got a point. It was great to see Craig Diaz back in a Dublin shirt. He came on for the final 10 minutes. Didn't score or anything of that nature, but it was great to see him come on. Cormac Costello, Brian Howard, Dean Rock, all getting on the score sheet as well. Even looking at Dublin's bench, it's mad. Like Stephen Cluxton, Owen Merchant, Cormac Costello, Craig Diaz, Brian Howard, John Small, Tom Lahiff, Lorcan O'Dell, Dean Rock, Noel Scully, Killian O'Gara. It's not a bad bench, is it? It's not a bad bench at all. And to be fair, a lot of those players will probably be starting, you'd imagine. I mean, Costello probably start, I'd say, once it gets into the business end of the championship. I think Brian Howard's a very good footballer. He just doesn't seem to be able to get a look in from Desi Farrell. There we go. I suppose if you're going to nitpick and you're going to look at maybe the only negative or the only worry from a Dublin perspective would be the 2 goals we've conceded. Like we've conceded a goal in, I think, every game barring the Derry game in the league final and Kildare on the opening day. So we've been conceding a lot of goals. We've been shipping a lot of goals, and just a bit of the defensive lapse at the start of the second half. Owen Lowry getting both of the goals literally within 3 minutes of each other. The second goal, I think we just gave the ball away, and then Laois just completely ran through, and Lowry took the ball in the back of the net. But it was, there was no real there was no jeopardization at that point. I mean, the game was over. And if anything, it's probably a good thing Laois got them goals. Otherwise, we would have been talking about a 35-point win for Dublin, which is pretty grim viewing, I suppose, for most neutrals who happen to watch this game. But there we go. We'll run through some comments here. I don't really have to say it, but I'm going to say it. This was like the Dublin we have missed under Jim Gavin. Superb running lines, great movement. Mannion and Jack McCaffrey are huge for us, says On Fire there. Yeah, absolutely. It was, it was, and it's probably something that doesn't, Dublin probably don't get the credit for, just doing what we did and beating teams in Leinster 20, 30 points, consistently. Like our level, our standards never dropped. It wasn't like we switched off and we scraped through teams. 2021 was probably the only example. But generally speaking, we've dealt with the business, and you do have to commend Dublin. You can only beat what's in front of you. Mead man says the other side of Leinster looks so much entertaining. The Dubs are gonna batter everyone. I think it will probably be convincing enough against Kildare. Offaly are loud in the Leinster final. Should be interesting as well. Mead in the Tailteann Cup. O'Rourke is being shown to be a bit clueless. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good for if you're a Mead supporter. Mead are in a bad state. O'Rourke has to go. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was gone by tomorrow. To be honest with you, I think it just hasn't worked there at all. Like Offaly, you've got good players, and there probably isn't that much of a gap between Offaly and Mead in terms of like where you looked at where they were in Division 3 and Division 2. But like Mead are such a huge historical county. It's crazy what's going on there, to be honest with you. And it's definitely something that myself and Matthew Hurley will discuss 8:00 tonight on the football review show. Mead man, I think we already said that. Galway, we're good today, but not great. Kerry and Mayo, we don't know a lot about them at the moment, so it could be Dublin be all Ireland favourites. Look, Dublin will definitely be in the conversation. And as I said, I just read out that bench there. Dublin probably have the best squad and the best team, player for player, pound for pound in the country. But it's just been those defensive lapses. The structure isn't quite there. I don't know. Like there's a lot of unknowns. We haven't played any real big teams this year other than Derry. And we lost away, beat them at home. Like it's hard to judge really with Dublin. We don't really know. Like, be interesting to see when we get to the group stages if Dublin play a Roscommon or a Mayo or someone of that nature, how we deal with it, because we are conceding a lot of goals and we are conceding a lot of chances, and that would be a concern. Is I suppose a few of those defensive lapses. You can't take much judgment from this today, but they were relentless. And Desi got the decision spot on, putting Miles into the legs and getting them off when it was game over at half time. Yeah, and it was great to see, as I said. Great to see Craig Diaz coming on, a few of the other lads playing as well. A few of the other players, Colin Basquel making a start. Would have been great to just throw Stephen Cluxton on for vibes. But obviously, substituting the goalkeeper probably would have been taking the mick. But there you go. Tom says it was shooting practice. Rommel says punch in the mouth awaits Dublin, then we'll know where they're at. And that's that's exactly the point, isn't it? We don't know what level they're at until they come up against one of the top teams. But there you go. But yeah, look, comprehensive, comfortable win. Laois will go into the Tailteann Cup. I wouldn't really fancy Laois to do much in that competition, to be honest. Definitely be a few other sides I think that will be ahead of them. Mead maybe. Although to be honest, I wouldn't even fancy Mead to win that at this stage. But there you go. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, your opinions in the comments down below. As I said, we'll be going live at 8:00 with Matthew Hurley from the GA Statsman to I suppose review all the weekend's action, and certainly a lot to discuss. Obviously, Louth with a big comeback win versus Westmeath. Offaly's win against Mead. Down beating Donegal, which probably wasn't that big of a surprise, but still shows how, I suppose, poor things are going for Donegal at the minute. And of course, we'll be looking at Galway's win today over Roscommon and everything else. So yeah, cheers anyone who tuned in, and speak to us all later.